BLCC's Semifinals 2025. My name is Zoe, and I'm here with the, well, Molly, you can introduce yourself.
Soon to be replaced.
Yes, the 2024 champion.
I know, here on the other side. Yeah, my name is Molly Thompson-Smith. You might have heard me on the live stream for the British Bouldering Championships a couple of weeks ago. But yeah, I'm here joining Zoe Wood, international national route setter, she forgot to say. And we're here for the semi-final round at the British League Climbing Championships this year.
We are, and it's tell you what, it's nice to be on the other side of things.
For us both, I guess.
Yeah, we are.
We're not used to being in this position.
It feels like a luxury, you know? Like, I'm no longer responsible for what's on the wall. You just get to sit back and watch.
Yeah, exactly, and enjoy the show, and it's definitely going to be a good show today. We've got a lot happening. We've got the semi-final and final rounds for the senior male and female and the under-17s male and female categories. So as you can see, maybe on the screen, there are 4 routes on the wall for today's semi-final, 1 for each category. And the climbers are currently doing their observation right now. So what's observation, Zoe, if people don't know at home?
So it's where they all come out and do a funny little dance on the mats before they perform. This dance is really important to, stimulating their movement. No, they're looking at the routes, they're trying to figure out what the sequence is. They're trying to figure out where to click from. Clicking is a really important part of these competition routes. I don't know if you can quite see on your screen, but we have at least 1 blue X on the wall, so that means that you have to click from that hold or anywhere below. You can't go above that. They'll be kind of having a chat with each other, sharing sequences. You can see it's pretty crowded down there.
I know, we have a lot of athletes today. We have
which means that they must click that quick draw before they pass that hold. If they do pass it without clipping it, that's the end of their attempt.
So the competitors are allowed to touch the start holds. You can see a few of them there just sussing out maybe how they're going to start the routes. And you can also see some binoculars.
That is a good hack. Tip.
Are you a binocular gal?
I used to not be into it, but I've been converted in the last few years because it really does allow you to see more detail and information at the top of the wall. And if you don't set your sights for the top of the wall,
exactly,
you've got
to go with that mindset. And you're a very experienced competition climber. What are your tactics in observation? Do you like to confer with others? Are you kind of, do you ever keep much to yourself? What's going through your mind in your pre-comp kind of sequence to get you ready for it?
Yeah, so there's definitely like a way to kind of lay out your 6 minutes observation, I would say. And I like to go through the route by myself to begin with, just so that I've got a general idea of where it goes, what my sequence would be. Just so that my time is used efficiently. So I generally just go through hands, not really bothering about clips or anything, but just getting the general flow of the route. And then I try and think about the clipping positions, because often that's a piece of the route as well. Sometimes people fall off clipping, or you've climbed past the clipping point and then that's the end of your go. And it always sucks so much to kind of fall off or be marked down because of a clip. Like, it's not the climbing, but it is. So I then go through all the clipping positions, and then I like to go through it with someone else. And I generally pick someone who I know really well, or I know their climbing style, or someone who's a similar height or build, or has a similar climbing style to me as well.
Amazing. Well, that's a great insight there. I feel like maybe for some of these athletes, this could be a fairly new kind of experience, especially in the under-17s. It's one of the great things about having that kind of national comp that is also selection. You're bringing through maybe people that haven't had much experience at lead comps. We saw some of that, I think, in qualification yesterday. Maybe a few not quite seeing the clipping positions, and a few actually not noticing the blue X's.
Yeah, it's definitely, when do you ever see blue X's on your commercial routes at your local gym? So it's definitely a lot of new stuff for these younger athletes to get used to. They'll never have seen these blue X's before. So, you know, there's rules at these competitions and things that you only see at events like this. So it's a lot to get used to, and it's really cool to see all of these new athletes coming through.
The other thing that is new to every single one of these athletes, which is pretty cool, is this is their first ever competition at this wall.
True. I know, the big depot in Manchester here is only opened 2 months ago.
Yeah.
So it's like a brand new wall. It looks incredible. It's really nice to have a national championship in the middle of the country.
Yes. No, like crazy drive home from Scotland at the end of the day.
Yeah, as incredible as that wall is, and I do really love the wall up in Edinburgh. Hopefully, I think we're seeing a slightly bigger start list, which is cool. More people coming to this event, but yeah, it's a brand new wall. There are so many new holds on the wall, and I think it looks amazing. So I'm really excited to see the performances that the climbers are going to give us today.
Yeah, it's really nice to see and feel a little bit of a buzz around a lead competition. I think it's something we've been lacking for such a long time in the UK. Like you say, when it is up in Ratho, the wall is incredible, but it is so far, so you don't get the same kind of quite hype and the spectators and stuff. And it's lovely to see the kind of hive of activity and the holds, and you can really push the routes when you've got all those options.
Yeah, as a route setter, what do you think of this wall and this, like, how does it look to you?
It's amazing. It's so great that we've got enough space to put up these really hard routes, and to be able to not be constrained by anything, by kind of weird wall angles or side walls or corners. It means that every single line will be a really good competition line. You're not having any sacrifices along the way. And we're just seeing our athletes there heading back into isolation, some of them getting their last little...
Oh yeah, you always keep looking.
You've got to have your head
out.
turned.
You trip over all sorts, but you keep looking at the route until the very last possible second.
Yeah, getting ushered there, getting ushered back into the isolation. Yeah, the route ropes are getting pulled, so the rope's just there to show you which clip you have to clip. The great thing about competition routes are, because the wall is completely stripped, you can wander as much as you want, and that creates a great opportunity for some different movements, to get some big volumes on the wall, to put kind of slightly less conventional route moves as well. We see maybe some more kind of high feet, leg swings, some pushing, but yeah, that rope is just there to show which line of quick draws you clip. We do a fair amount of moving quick draws around, extending some to make that possible, so that the rope doesn't run over any volumes. Try and minimize the rope drag.
So the athletes just have a little bit of time to go back into isolation and get ready, and we will be on with our show soon.
How exciting! Hello, and we have our athletes coming out onto the mats. They are our first athletes in the semi-final of the BLCC's 2025.
So as you can see, we have all 4 athletes from each of our categories out climbing at the same time. The wall is big enough to allow for this, so we get to watch lots of action all in one go.
In the under-17s, we have Catherine Matthews just getting straight on with it. We like that, no hesitation. Austin is just gathering himself there. In the under-17s male. Oh no, sorry, Catherine is senior. There you go.
We
First
got Emily.
climber, boo-boo. There.
It's early, it's okay. We've got Emily Chan out for the under-17 females and Konstantin Lepukin for our senior men. And all athletes off to a really good, steady start.
Yeah, it's a relief when you kind of, well, I guess it's nice almost for me. Normally I know what's going to happen with the moves, and it's quite nice to see that they haven't been mean with their start moves.
No, I did see a little run on start yesterday for one of the men's qualification routes, and you know, everyone can always do it fine. It gives you that little, it makes you nervous, and I guess that's the point of it, just to put us on edge a little bit.
Yeah, exactly. You don't want anyone to fall off, but you're gonna have to make them think a little bit. And you can't quite see on the screens, but we've got in the wall, all our athletes are actually at kind of basically the same point, which is pretty cool.
Yeah, and Austin Hammond, our under-17 male, has just reached the blue cross section and done a nice little dyno, and that's why that blue cross is there, right?
Yeah, so that, you know, a move like that, which maybe could spit you off, they want to make sure that you've got that clip in, just to avoid any possibility of hitting the floor. And Catherine has just slipped off there. I think it definitely ramps up once it gets to the steeper section of wall. And we've got Emily there. Sorry, a little bit of a second boo-boo. It's still early, Molly. Don't worry. We'll settle into this. Constantine is he always makes an appearance at BLCCs. I admire his. I've seen him here now. Every year I've done it, and he's one of those climbers that just he looks like he's about to fall off, and then he just stays on, and that
doing
happens.
A really good job.
Move after move, and it's incredible to watch.
Little bit of a shake going on here. He's entering the slopey holds now after a bit of a crimpy section. And this looks like a tricky clip, like we were talking about earlier.
Yeah.
Oh, and he just misses that blocked hold.
And the same over there for Austin. It's really tricky because you've got to constantly be making those decisions, deciding where to stop, when to keep going, and yeah, especially if you're a little bit nervous.
Yeah, first climbers out of the day. Like, it is hard to open the show here. You know, they've only just made it into the semi-final. Maybe they're a bit nervous, but also nothing to lose.
Yeah,
only places to gain.
I mean, to even have made it into the semi-final, I hope they are all super proud. I mean,
yeah,
good on them.
It's such an achievement.
Yeah, for sure. Tilly there putting in a great first high point.
Yeah, amazing effort from all of our first athletes, and they've done a very good job of like being out at the same time.
Yeah, and falling off and nice in sync. Well done, team. The lights here are they're really making the wall shine.
Yeah, the venue is amazing. The wall looks exceptional, and I think it's just going to get better for this evening's finals.
I know, I'm so excited. It's really great to see the sport grow and head in a direction which only means that the athletes can shine even better and kind of thrive in our country, so that then they can go out to the internationals and thrive there, because we really have got such an amazing kind of community of strong climbers here in this, like, what is a relatively small country.
Definitely, and I think last year's performances on the international circuit just went to show to the rest of the world how strong we are as a nation. And
our
it's
Olympians.
Really, it's really
all of
cool.
our Olympians, including my co-host. I am secretly, basically, I'm one of Molly's friends, but basically I'm just a super fan.
Oh, please. I'm a super fan of your route setting, so we're even.
We're even. And we have Maisie here from the seniors, off to a solid start. Just, you know, again, I like it when they don't waste any time. They're out, they're up.
Maisie's a depot athlete, so she should be right at home here.
Yeah, we've seen all the athletes coming here a lot to train, because the wall's only been open a few months. We've seen everyone come in trying to cram in that kind of like last minute practice to
Yeah.
because it makes a big difference if you know what holds the wall's got, what angles, if you can start to prepare yourself for how long the routes are going to be.
Even just things like knowing where the bathroom is, like just being comfortable in the centre, and like so that when you come here on competition day, nothing's new.
Yeah, and
You can be fully prepared. There's no surprises.
Yeah, work as much out before as possible.
Exactly. But Maisie's looking really good. Getting into the steep section now.
I think a lot of them will like enjoy, by the looks of it, this next little bit. It seems to have some tic-tacking up, some crimps on volumes.
The best kind of lead style.
Bit of a foot swing maybe coming up with that. You can see how high that right foot is.
Yeah, tricky cross for Maisie now as she enters this steep section. And then it'll be quite hard to unravel, I think.
Oh no, there you go, you called it. You called it.
So maybe our first crux?
Yeah, it looks like it, for sure. Kind of, you got to keep loads of tension on that left hand. Meanwhile, we have Daniel in the seniors struggling to get that clip in a little bit, actually, but he's just about made it work.
And he's off into the steep section now.
Yeah.
Now this wall is really steep. We've both climbed on this wall recently, and it is surprisingly steep, isn't it?
It's so much steeper than it looks.
I know, and on the screen you really can't see how steep it is.
No. And I was surprised. Once it gets to that steepness, you really have to kind of like pull in with the legs. I was amazed at how physical this wall felt.
And we just lose Daniel there in a really physical section.
He's
physical climbing on a
physical
physical
proving
wall.
my point, right? Thanks, Daniel.
Yeah.
And meanwhile, on the under-17s, Henry Lovegrove is giving it. He's looking pretty chill.
He is looking really good.
Nice
now
and
this
chill.
section of the wall
Oh,
isn't
look at that.
quite
Nice
as
little slip.
steep as the rest of the wall where all of our other routes are on. So it's a little bit more technical. The holds look slightly worse, I would say.
Yeah.
So Henry can take his time a little bit more and really think about, body positioning and like where on the holds he wants to grab. I think you've just got a little bit more time when the wall isn't quite as steep.
Yeah, but then also maybe because you can hang around a bit more, you could also just kind of waste a bit more energy. But
Henry's looking pretty efficient. He's really using
good.
all those heel hooks as best he can, but looks like he's struggling to find the right feet here. Everything is a bit vertical.
Come on, Henry.
Come on, Henry.
Oh, and that crimp isn't even blocked that much, but it's just enough to spit you off the wall.
Yeah. And Tilly sticks our dyno on the under-17s.
That looks like such a fun move. That's the kind of move you see and you're like, I want to do that.
Yes, it's definitely a spectacular move and a spectacular looking route.
I was talking to Jess, one of the route setters. She's the head route setter for Ratho, and she was telling me, so the route setters have to work until about 10 o'clock at night. Well, even later, 12, changing all the routes over from the qualification round. And she said that she tried that dyno about 10 times about 11 o'clock at night just to try and get it perfectly tuned. And so, yeah, that's a little bit of background to what the route setters are doing whilst everyone else is tucked up in bed.
Yeah, and I always say that the climbers have a long day. They prepare really hard for this and they train and they give everything. And these competition days are long, but it's an even longer day for the route setters. It's a long week. Tell us what the process is like to make an event like this happen.
It's a team
effort.
Route setter. It's a team effort. It really is. Well, first of all, we start the week before kind of 4 or 5 days before the competition starts. We basically set a round per day, so we'll do qualification, semi-finals, finals, but we'll start in reverse. So we'll start with the finals, and particularly with routes, you have to be so organised, because every time you take something down, you need to make sure that you don't lose all of the holds, that we mark them with little bits of Sharpie. You have to make sure that you number them in a way that makes sense so that you can put it back up again, because particularly between semi-finals and finals, you don't have that long to put everything back up.
No, it really is a tight turnaround, isn't it? And you've set a lot of routes. Here we've got 4 for just the semi-final round. We'll have another 4 for the final. And everyone had 2 qualification routes to climb yesterday. So, that's a lot of routes. You must be exhausted.
Yeah. But it's like that intensity that is also draws you into it. I feel like you live and breathe that competition for the whole week.
Bella's taking some crazy cuts here. She
Come on.
has managed to do that roll through, but I think she just, and she looks upset. It looked like she just used a lot of power.
She basically held it, didn't she? And then right at the last second of composing herself, lost it. And we also saw Daniel there just dropped that.
So these routes really, they don't go soft on these athletes, do they? They go straight in. It looks like as soon as you get into that steep section, the difficulty really ramps up.
Yeah, and particularly for kind of, we've got a massive field and we've got to split, quite a big spectrum of abilities. Obviously, we've got like people that compete and are technically the best in the world, and so you've got to. It's really hard to get that level right to make a route so that it splits.
How do you do that? How do you navigate that challenge as a route setter? You've got Olympic champion Toby Roberts here, and you've got people who've entered their first ever national championships. How do you do that?
It's a really hard, because the last thing you want is for the best people to top things, and then for the people of the lower abilities to not get off the floor. So you've really got to try and work out where that kind of the lowest bar is, and then work from there and just keep making the routes as progressive as possible so that each move builds and builds and builds. Another really good thing to look out for is just being really aware of how intense the route is as a whole. You can sometimes get a bit too absorbed into the individual moves, but actually you've got to remember that these athletes aren't
climbing it from bottom to top.
Exactly, they aren't resting.
And it's different.
As route setters, we've got the luxury of hanging on every bolt, and we do.
Yeah.
So on the wall, we have got Louis here from the under-17s, also making this section look pretty casual. In real life, those crimps look small.
They do look small. Louis, and he sticks that move that we just lost our previous athlete on, and he's looking really good. I remember seeing him at the British Bouldering Championships a couple of weeks ago, so he was in the final there, I believe.
Yeah, he's looking really composed. So it's really nice when you see athletes, especially in that kind of the under-17s category, just be able to not just climb well, but compete well in terms of their composure and the way they approach routes.
Louis is just keeping on trucking. He isn't really stopping for a rest. I thought he might stop on this big undercut with this big foot, but he has just kept going.
He just slipped off. I wasn't expecting that.
It looked like he just fumbled that undercut slightly. It's not great. It's round, it's slopey.
And I think you maybe had to really kind of turn your hand so that you're gupping it to get it.
Yeah, and I don't think Louis brought up his left foot, so he was going just off the right hand and right foot, and I think he just lost a bit of balance and fumbled it. But an amazing effort. I'm pretty sure that's our high point on this route, and a really good effort.
And I think on the female senior route, we might be seeing our new high point. We are. Seeing getting through this volume section here. Big kind of high right foot.
Yeah, big kick out to that volume.
Looks super powerful.
Did a really good job of taking that cut and getting her feet back on straight away, but.
And she's off.
Just powers out. Look, too pumped. Sometimes you get so pumped and it doesn't matter what the hold is.
Yeah, and you get those climbers as well that don't look pumped, and then suddenly you fall off and you're like, why'd you fall off? And they're like, oh, it's really boxed, but you just, they don't look like it.
Yeah, but that was an amazing effort and our new high point.
Meanwhile, Phoebe here on the under-17s absolutely cruising it. Oh no.
Oh, Zoe.
Oh, the commentator's curse.
Just a little foot slip there, and I think that's that's the risk with these dual textured holds.
Yeah. And
if you're not accurate, if you're not focused, and they may look big, that is a big hold that the athletes get to jump to. But I think that sometimes with big holds comes a little bit of complacency maybe, or just, the assumption that it's big, my foot won't slip. But the dual texture gets us all at some point.
Meanwhile, we have William Decker. Oh no, this is
Zoe, just stop talking. No, just
really. Zoe, why did you stop talking? You're going to be commentating oh god, I'm just cursing everyone left, right, and centre.
Just really proving how tricky that steep section is. And sometimes we have athletes that come out early and they have an amazing fight. Who was out? I think Konstantin was our first athlete out, and he was right up. And he towards the end of this, he did so well, and you think,
and it's such a young field in comparison. You need and to be able to compete on a level with where the field is,
I mean, maybe that's all of Constantine's appearances at British League Champs coming through. That experience is really shining.
Not letting go.
Yeah, just a great fighter.
Just keep going. Just keep going.
So this deep section is not trivial. It is really difficult. And I look forward to seeing the rest of our athletes on it. So we've got some more athletes coming out now. We've got Rosa Wall on the wall.
Rosa on the wall.
Senior female category. And for our under-17 male category, Miles Harvey-Jones is just taking a little look before he gets on the wall.
What do you do when you're out there, in the competition? Are you get out and get straight on, or do you take a little minute to compose yourself?
So I guess it'll be different for different people. So for athletes like Miles and Rosa, it's not been that long since they last viewed the route. Observation was only half an hour ago, and they've not been in isolation for that long. So it should still be fresh in their mind. So they probably don't need too long to remind themselves of what the route looks like, where it goes. But I would always come out. You've got 45 seconds of time before you have to get on the wall.
I bet that actually goes quite quickly.
It goes really quickly, and there's a lot of times where I've been watching my teammates out at comps and I'm like, get on the wall. It's been they're just taking their sweet time, and I'm like, you don't have this much time. But
come on.
Yeah.
And what happens? So what happens if you go over that 45 seconds? Will you get a warning, or
yes,
or
I
do
think
you?
it's a yellow card or a warning.
Okay.
It's definitely like a punishable offence.
Yeah.
And
because
just otherwise
for
you
people
just
that
spend
don't know
5
what
minutes.
the yellow card means, could you just explain what that is?
So a yellow card is, I guess, whenever you break the rules, but not a severe rule, you get a yellow card, kind of like in any other sport.
Yeah.
And so not something you want, really. And when you get 2 yellow cards, I think that becomes a red card. But
we got one earlier, actually.
We did. We got one earlier from Maisie in the senior female category, and it can be for something as what you'd think to be as trivial as not wearing your bib.
Indeed. But it's all great practice for these athletes. For some of them, this might be their first ever competition, lead competition with these rules.
And Rosa's having a having a really good fight, and she's just getting all twisted up in those volumes. But we just lose her.
That's our new high point on the senior women's route. I think this could be one where we just, as we get through that list, we've got 26 athletes. Just getting a little bit higher and higher.
It seems like it's a very progressive route, and I guess you would assume that as we progress through this semi-final ranking, the athletes would have a better and better time. Oh, and we just lose Miles as well. He looked so strong. It was like he almost pulled himself off the wall. Just a little bit too extended, I think, from that foot. Didn't quite have enough weight in it, and he was going to an undercut, which means all of your weight's in your feet.
Boom. Great explanation there.
Unlucky for Miles there. I feel like he had more to give, but hopefully he's still satisfied and proud of himself for just being in the semi-final round, because the field is stacked this year. I can't remember a BLCCs that had a turnout like this.
No, and it's great to see it. It's great to see that that's the direction that we're going in.
Yeah.
Meanwhile, just Charlotte left on the wall, giving it her all. She's hanging on those big buckets that are really slippy.
Really slippy. I guess that's a really clever way of incorporating a rest into a route from the route setters, because the holds are big but they're slippy, so you can't really relax, so you're always under tension.
And you've just done a jump, and I think it's nice to be able to give the climbers, if they've done a move like that, just a second to compose themselves. Sometimes rests are a little bit more maybe mental than physical.
Yeah. Do you, when you're setting a route, do you think, right, where can I give this climber a rest point to either reset mentally or get a little bit back before a tricky section? Like, is there a strategy?
Yeah,
when you're
I think
setting?
maybe like a tiny bit of rest, so like half rests almost, or through like a quarter rest.
You never want to give them too much.
Exactly,
right?
just a little bit, just to keep them chugging on up. And Charlotte here she's getting our high point. She's sticking
that. Amazing
that was a hero move. So Charlotte is approaching this blue X here, and so she must clip it. There we go. She's clocked it. She's just seeing if she can reach it. She can. So Charlotte is a climber from North Wales. She is coached by Emma Twyford. Come on, Charlotte, get that clip in.
Just struggling to pull up enough slack for that.
She is a lead climber, she's a lead climber and a boulderer, but I think her, she really shines on the lead routes. Oh, and she's just off there. That looks like a tenuous clip.
It does. It looks like, you've climbed the entirety of the steep section. You just want to get to that vertical section so you can take a bit of weight out of your arms, but the route setters have given you a clip to clip, so it's quite evil, I'd say. But most of the time, the blue X is for safety.
Yes, yeah. And it's also to demonstrate that, you know, if you choose to climb past that, you could not clip that clip anywhere from like beyond that point.
Right.
And in these competitions, you have to clip all the clips.
Yeah.
So it's also
That is a
basically
rule.
to let the athletes know, like, if you go beyond this point, you can't clip it, which actually is quite useful.
Yeah, I guess that is actually a bit of like intel, I guess, you know. It gives you a sure kind of bit of information on the route. So you know that, right, whatever I do, that is the hold I will be clipping off. So you know that for sure. So kind of helpful in a way.
Also stressful, I'd imagine.
Also stressful, yeah.
Yeah, like, there's a lot going on, like, let alone being, like, told that you have to clip there.
We've got 4 new athletes on the wall, 3 new athletes on the wall. We've got Sienna Chaplio for the senior women, Max Brown for the under 17 males. We've got Emils Laganovskis
Great
for the
effort.
senior men.
Great effort there.
All making their way up, looking pretty casual. They're just beginning their campaign on this semi-final route.
And we're seeing some pretty casual climbing here, which is great to see, you know, especially at this level of the route. We want to see the athletes really being able to think about how they're going to preserve energy. Oh no, and I've just jinxed it again.
Yeah, Sienna looked like she just was tired, maybe. I mean, yesterday was a big day. These athletes had to climb 2 qualification routes, and you know, you might think it's just 2 routes, but the mental toll of an event like this,
Absolutely.
it's huge. You're nervous from the night before because these athletes will. So in the qualification round, athletes have to climb 2 routes, and they usually get demonstration videos. So the route setters will kindly provide them with a demonstration that shows them how to climb these routes. But you know, from the moment that demonstration video comes in, I know I'm stressed because you know exactly what you're up against.
The moment
following
before
day.
I have to tie in to do that demonstration video, I'm also stressed.
It's just a lot of stress at a weekend like this, and I think people underestimate the fatigue that comes from being under that much pressure and stress for so long. So, you know, these athletes may be used to more, like in terms of volume of climbing. They probably train way more than this, and they can climb more than 2 routes in a day, but to climb 2 routes at your limit and have all of the, you know, you have to be ready at a certain time. You've got all these other people here. You're out of your comfort zone. That is extremely tiring.
It means so much to them. Like when you're at these events, like you're just watching people like pour their heart and soul into these climbs, and when they
it happens once a year.
Yeah, exactly. And when they don't feel like they perform to the best of their abilities, it's pretty sad. But then I guess that's also the motivation to the hard work away from the competitions.
Well, it's the best and worst part of these events, you know. The worst part being you've only got one shot once a year, but the best part is, you know, when it works out, you've showed up and you've made the best out of this one moment in time, and that is a really special feeling.
Do you have any kind of like tips for the mental side of competitions, or things that have helped you during you know, during these like environments which you feel like there's a lot of pressure on yourself? Probably, I mean, a lot of internal pressure as well.
Definitely,
like anything that you've found really helped you?
So for me, I know that preparation is key. So the more prepared I feel, the better I'll feel on the day. So it's just about really making the most of all that training time and just showing up to the event as prepared as possible. But then once you get here, there's nothing you can do apart from give it your best. And as long as you've given it your best, then what else could you expect from yourself?
Yeah. Let go of all that pressure once you walk into the environment.
And as much as everyone else, you may have lots of people who are invested in your climbing. You may have a coach, your parents, friends, team members. It's your climbing at the end of the day, and they just want the best for you. So all you can do for yourself and for them is to just go out and climb your best and enjoy it. Because also, what an achievement to be competing at a national championships. When I speak to my friends who aren't climbers, they're like, wow, Mol, like, you know, you're trying to qualify for the Olympics, or you're national champion like that. There are so few people just in the world who can relate to that. And so I hope all of these athletes remember what an achievement it is to just be here at this level, and they just enjoy the day.
That is so nice. I wish we could record that, bottle it up and just play it on loud in isolation to them all before they go out, because that is just, you're so right, and it's such a lovely way of looking at it. And especially with, because we have the under-17s category, they just don't quite have that experience and might have not quite found that piece with it yet. You definitely see a lot of stress, at these competitions.
I know, and they're just finding their feet in this competitive world, and they just want to do really want to do their best. But it's great to see them like enjoying it and sticking with it and coming to Boulder and lead competitions and year after year, and also just being around the senior athletes as well. It must be really inspiring for them to be able to climb alongside the likes of Toby and Hamish and Max,
Yeah, no, it's an amazing kind of community we have here, and we've just seen Ruth also get spat off by that section with the crimps on the volumes, and I think, looking at it from here, I don't think we can quite understand how small they are in a steep section of wall, and as we see more and more athletes come out and struggle on that bit, I think it's just it's hard to continue the flow through it almost, it's looking to me.
Definitely. Meanwhile, we've got Maya on the under-17 female route. She's got that last blue cross clip in, and I think we're about to see our first athlete onto the head wall.
She's looking good as well. She
really
didn't look too
good.
stressed by that clip. Oh no, now I've jinxed it. No,
she's been
come on,
climbing
Maya.
really efficiently, and she's been super confident in her movement, but just unlucky in that,
I hope she's
spat off
proud
by
of
that big
because I
move.
think she climbed really decisively and powered on through. Meanwhile, we are
It's
seeing,
all happening now.
Yeah, it's all happening now. We're seeing Kit make his way close to the head wall on the under-17s.
And he's got a really subtle little knee bar in, which has just been enough to help him get that clip in. And let's see if he can do this really tricky
He's in
move
fight mode. He's in fight mode. But I think we could see him go for.
Come on! That's really interesting. He's brought his hands down onto the better undercut to do that move up to the next undercut, and that's really interesting and smart climbing from Kit. Sometimes the way that the route setters have intended the route to be climbed is not the best way for the specific athlete.
Yeah, for sure. And so I guess it's about making those decisions for what's going to suit your body type the best.
And I'm really impressed that Kit managed to do that on the fly, on the wall, because he looked pumped, and when you're pumped, your decision making is definitely impaired, and it's really hard to still think clearly when you're under pressure from your body, your forearms want to let go when you're starting to panic. But that was really impressive from Kit to not just reach, because I think that's the urge when you're struggling, is to just throw your hands up or jump to the next hold. But instead he took his time, he brought his hands back down, and he moved his feet. And I always say to people, when you're pumped, think about your feet, move your feet.
We should be writing down all these tips here. We're getting
all these nuggets.
You're throwing off some great tips for the competitors there. We just saw Cameron as well.
He had a great fight.
Yeah, he did. I've seen him here practicing his lead. He's and he's often at all of the competitions. I think that middle section is proving to be a bit of a stopper for a lot of the athletes. I wonder if the route setters are worried a little bit, but I also think we've got a lot more to go, especially in the adults. It's a bit of a bigger field for the semi-finals for the adults. We have 26 versus 16 in the under-17s.
Definitely. So there's still lots more climbing to come, and I'm really confident we'll be seeing some athletes at the top of the wall later today.
Well, with the calibre of athletes that we have to come, I would be surprised if they weren't.
There were quite a few tops yesterday, so the athletes are used to getting to the top of the wall, and the route setters definitely use that information, don't they?
Absolutely. They'll be, really analysing how the athletes did in qualification and have tweaked all of these routes to really kind of fine-tune that level. Often the semi-final routes in these competitions are actually the hardest.
Oh, really?
Yeah, the way that kind of qualification, because you have two routes and you've got a big field, it doesn't necessarily...
And you're setting for a larger spectrum of people, right?
It doesn't necessarily need to be as hard. But then semi-finals is obviously, it's like the first route of the day, and you've got to cut down quite a lot of people, whereas the final, that's then your second route, and you've got a little bit more of a kind of space to split people, because there's a far less than the 26. So on the wall we have got Ruth in the senior females. She's about to enter the volume of doom section. Hopefully she will make some light work of it.
And she's not got that clip, which most other athletes have already clipped by this point. So we'll see if that was better beater, or
she's being quite decisive about it, which I like, and then got heel to make that clip. You know what? I think that was a good move for her.
yeah,
It's paid off.
she's making it work. Let's hope it pays off.
And over on the senior male, we have Joseph, who is also entering into our Volume of Doom section, where we've seen quite a few people get spat off this next little section with the undercuts and the rollover. Oh no! And
it's just super physical. You go you've got these two tiny crimps, and you've not got much to stand on, and you're going into an undercut.
Yeah, there's basically
super physical.
There's basically no feet in that section. You've got to really drive your toe into the underside of a hold.
Meanwhile, we've got Kirsty in our under-17 women's category just eyeing up this jump. She's got the clip in, and now she's just taking a moment before she commits herself to that jump.
I really think that this is kind of one of those moves where actually it isn't that physically hard, and all of these athletes will be more than capable of doing it, but there's just something about jumping on a rope which just feels spooky.
I mean, there's a little bit more logistics to it, isn't it? You've got to avoid the rope, especially when you've had to clip above. You've got to try not to catch the rope with your arm. But Kirsty made it look super easy, and now we'll see if she'll take a bit of time to reset before entering this tricky volume section.
And Sebastian just making his way into that undercut.
Looking pretty good here.
Yeah. He's also getting that little knee scum in, which I think will help to get that clip in.
It looks like that pink bar is really bad. None of the athletes look particularly happy on it.
No.
But it does take quite a bit of confidence to skip out a hold on a route, and Sebastian didn't have the clip there, but he just went for the hold.
I think he knew that maybe he didn't quite have enough juice left to get that clip in from the position.
And it's more worthwhile to have a plus or a higher score than it is to have the clipping, because clips don't, even though we were saying earlier clips can make or break, they don't actually count for anything.
No, so the way that scoring works for these routes is that each hold is worth a point, and we have route maps which are actually online. So if you are interested in seeing kind of what point each hold is worth, you can head to the bmcresults.co.uk, and all of the topos for the routes are on there, so you can have a little look to see what the scores the athletes are getting. They're scored in sequence, so there is the potential for, if an athlete skips out a hold, they could get a higher score.
You could leapfrog scores.
Yeah.
But at the same time, you can also kind of be penalised a little bit for that, right?
Exactly. If you go up and get to a higher hold, but you actually couldn't do anything from it, and the route setters are like, no, you couldn't have got any higher than that with that hold, then you go back down to the last scoring hold.
So there's a lot of tactics involved as well.
Yeah, and it must be so hard to be able to make those decisions when you're under that much stress and pressure. And also there's also that time pressure. The athletes only have 6 minutes to make their way up to the top of the wall, so maybe if it's a route where there's quite a few rests, that suddenly becomes a lot harder.
Definitely. I think that's where you see who's experienced in competitive climbing and who isn't, whether they're able to make these decisions, whether they're able to stay calm under pressure, and their pacing as well. But we've got 3 new athletes on the wall. We've got Hannah Hunt for our senior women's route. We've got Tom Jenkinson on our senior males route, and we've got Martha Frost-Mullen on our under-17 female route.
We have Toma just getting ready there, so we've got about to have 2 Catalyst athletes on the wall. These climbers are from London, and we often see some strong climbers come out of that squad.
Hannah getting a bit extended with that toe hook, but controls that cut really nicely. She was super quick to get her feet back on the wall, which will definitely be helpful for this next section.
She's climbing really decisively, and we're about to see a new high point.
Great flexibility from her as well.
Yeah.
And she's just cruising through these volumes.
Yeah. It's really nice when you see lots of athletes struggle, and then suddenly you see that kind of glass ceiling being broken through, and you just really get to see the caliber of athletes kind of increase throughout this semi-final.
Big slap up to that macro from Hannah there, and that hold, it looks big, but it's not particularly good.
Ooh.
And she had quite a lot. There's quite a big move off of that macro.
Yeah, and it looks like as well, she had her rope behind the leg a little bit. That looked pretty stressful, and working out, just quite whether to match and then go, or whether
it can be quite distracting, can't it?
Yeah. And especially when the routes become quite 3D, because we're able to use the whole wall is stripped, you can put so much kind of bigger volumes and macros and stuff on it. And you just don't get that in day-to-day setting.
Definitely.
And so like you probably aren't quite as well practiced at dealing with that. Oh no, suddenly the rope is going in a weird direction and working out where it's going to go when you fall.
And that's where experience really counts, and it is helpful to do, to have done lots of competitions before. You have more practice on climbing on these routes, and they are so different to your commercial routes. So it really is helpful to have, been there, to be used to ropes being, because your routes in a commercial gym are straight up as well, and these wander a little bit. So the rope's different, the quick draws are different, but these athletes do a really good job.
You actually go further away from quick draws as well. You know, even that mental effect of being like, oh, suddenly I'm actually quite far to the side and a lot further, even though it's completely safe, you're just simply not used to that. And there's so many of these factors that, unless you compete, it's really hard to get used to them, with the lack of kind of maybe like training facilities which are set up purely for competition climbers. And that's something that I think, especially in the UK, a lot of our athletes have struggled with, because just the routes are so different in competitions versus in the commercial walls.
For sure. Toma is now entering our kind of main crux section. He's into that big white undercut. Let's see if he opts to use that pink bar or if he skips it.
He's quite a powerful climber, and you can really see that he's making good moves up the wall. He's keeping that tension on, and he's deciding to keep going. I think he's going to need to clip very soon, otherwise there we go. Oh no, and a bit of a flip upside down. But he did hit the wall with his foot. That was some good. His foot was above his head, but
no, and that'll be interesting to see whether Toma is rewarded, what score he's rewarded, because he did climb quite a way past the clip, and I feel like from that next purple hold you wouldn't be able to reach the clip.
So in this circumstance, if the judge isn't sure, what will happen is they will ask one of the route setters, most likely the head route setter, which is Max Ayrton here. And it will be like, okay, so at what point could you no longer clip that clip, and then they'll be rewarded the score for where they could have last clipped the clip.
Right.
And we have Ryan here just making his way up onto the start of the steep section of the male senior route. And we have Jessica making her way up the start of the senior female. The way that the lights are illuminating everything here is making them look a lot more like highlighted than in real life. These volumes look kind of almost like lime yellow, but they're actually green in real life.
They are indeed. Great colours on the wall. The wall looks incredible here in Manchester at the big depot. And we're approaching halfway through our semi-final round now, I would say. But Ryan is looking really good. He's approaching this main crux section that we've seen so far, and he makes the move into the slot. Starting to readjust, he's looking pumped. Let's see if he can get that clip in and continue. The holds don't get any better, and he takes a cut, but he's looking really good. Come on, Ryan.
It's so physical, this section. This is like, can you pull maximum through your legs, keep the core tension? The hands are basically secondary. He's going to do like almost a figure of 8. He almost twists himself off the wall there.
He just got a bit tangled, and that is the risk with feet first sections, I guess. You have to be really careful with where you place your feet and make sure that you leave enough space for your hands to then hold the same holds that your foot is on. And I think Ryan just maybe was a little bit greedy with his foot. He was pumped, so it's completely understandable. And he just didn't quite have enough space to get his hand on that same hold, and that's why we lost him there.
It also just looked really hard to read. There's really 3 holds in the line,
from the floor.
And from the floor, you don't quite know like which way round it's going to be best to go. So not only is it strenuous, but you've got to try and think as well.
And it is really hard to think when you are pretzeled up on the wall.
Yeah. It's not optimum. And over on the under-17s female, we're seeing Caitlin really maximising her tallness there.
She is one of the taller competitors in this category, isn't she?
She competed for the bouldering championships as well, and I was on the second team for that. And sometimes I'd look over, and she's just like reaching between holds that for everyone else was.
How do you set for that?
Because
in the youth category, you've got athletes at different stages of, you know, their development and different heights and such different body.
Yeah,
like,
I mean,
frames.
you've got athletes that have become kind of like they've gone through puberty and now they are basically at the same size as the seniors, and then you've got athletes that are very much like still fairly small, and there's nothing worse than watching kind of those like smaller athletes just not be able to reach.
And we just lost Jess there. She looked like she had slightly more in the tank than our previous athlete with the high point. But yeah, just getting a little bit tangled up, trying to figure out where to put her feet. It looks like that section is really tricky because, you know, you've gone from all of these tiny screw-ons on volumes to this big macro, and you've got a long way to go, but the feet are a bit hidden.
Yeah, and that's definitely something that is a bit of a theme on these routes. You see them go through sections where they have specific styles, and then when they mix up styles, it can really throw athletes off. You see them kind of get comfortable with maybe the crimps on the volumes, and then suddenly when it's switched up and you've got to turn on that explosive power and the handholds go to slightly more open-handed, even just the fact that it's like switched up can be enough to throw your head off, and you've been climbing in one way, and if you don't adapt how you're climbing, it spits you off.
Yeah, definitely.
We have Ruben here, the only climber currently on the wall in the under-17s male. He's just entering into this section that, is kind of like our high point so far. And this next clip is a tricky one, and we've seen none of the athletes that have gone past this undercut have actually like clipped it from further. So I think it's going to be important for, you know, the athletes to get that clip in from this white undercut.
Yeah, the route setters have given the athletes like a big handhold and foothold here, probably with the intention of them clipping off of it. But we'll see how Ruben tackles this section.
Oh, and he's off there. He's like, again, moving to that undercut, and I think it might be a mixture of like, it's obviously incredibly powerful, but also that slight hesitation with having not had that clip in and being like, oh, you know, I should like try and maybe not go too far, and then yeah. So it's like a mixture of physically hard and the mental toll of it being a tricky clip. The clips in these routes are, you know, they are as difficult as individual moves.
Part of the climb.
Yeah. You're
part
really
of the difficulty.
You're really like testing these athletes in as much kind of different aspects as possible, and that includes the clipping, the decision making, slight fear.
And Oliver Knox-Renshaw is fighting here on this senior male route. He's just approaching our main crux. Let's see if he's got enough in the tank to get through it. Come on, Ollie. Oh, and he sticks the move to the slot. Great effort here from Ollie. He's fighting. Come on. Leaves enough room for his hand to come where his foot is, and just shows how much raw power he has. Oh, just short on that last yellow squadron hold, but a great fight from Oliver. He looked like he was fighting quite a few moves before that, so that was really, really great from him.
Meanwhile, we have Livy kind of, entering this volume section looking pretty casual, which is great to see because it, you know, we know how hard it is with the amount of climbers that have struggled with it.
Yeah, definitely looking the most relaxed so far, although just struggling with this clip now. Oh, and we just lost Livy there. I think just got a little bit confused with where the best clipping position would be, and, you know, just kind of wasted all her fitness there in that section.
Yeah, it's so hard, isn't it, knowing what pace to go at, and I think you definitely, especially when it's steeper, you get rewarded for being decisive and not wasting any energy.
Yeah, and it's hard to not get a bit flustered when, you know, you try something and it doesn't work, like clipping.
Yeah, that bloody clipping. It'd be easy if you didn't have to, wouldn't it?
It would be
if
easy.
You could just climb from the bottom to the top. And we have Charlotte here, getting that clip in nice and casual. And again, she doesn't need to jump. She's making the most of her long legs there, looking incredibly casual, just hanging off two arms. That must feel pretty good.
Definitely. I think cheating a jump is one of the best comp feelings ever.
Yeah, and then just chilling on 2 arms, being like, come on, why isn't this any harder?
We've got Spike Forward out, starting on the under-17 male route. He was our winner.
He
from
was.
The
Could we have a
British-
double? Could we have
could
a
we have a
double
double
champion?
champ?
That'd
Yeah.
be so cool.
Yeah, it was amazing to watch Spike compete at the British Bouldering Championships a couple of weeks ago. He was incredible in the finals.
Yeah,
the only person to top the final boulder.
Yeah, it was. You know,
And it was just a masterclass, really. That performance, wasn't it?
absolutely. He is a North Core athlete, so trains in Sheffield, and he's looking casual, which is great to see. As we know, the athletes are kind of like, most of them are getting through this section, and obviously they don't know that. They're in isolation. They've got to just kind of climb with zero information, basically.
Yeah, Spike is definitely a strong athlete, but also really technically capable. He spends a lot of time climbing outside on the grit with his dad, so I'm guessing that's where the tech super skills comes from. But yeah, he's also super strong, so I'm excited to see how he gets on this route, because I feel like it is the perfect combination of technical climbing with some power.
Yeah, for sure. We just saw Charlotte kind of slip off close to our high point there, but didn't get that blue X clip in. So wouldn't have been rewarded if she'd gone beyond that anyway, because she did try. But it is blue X to the volume. So whether she gets the kind of the 2 holds on the volume or just 1, that'll be down to the judges.
Eric, meanwhile, is fighting super hard on this senior male route, but he has made the move to the slot. Oh, and he just falls clipping. That is not nice.
Oh, it looks like maybe kind of like you need to decide to clip that draw before entering that physical section. And we see Spike here. He's made the clip. He's latched onto the undercut. He's going, oh no.
And
I
that
thought
was-
we were going to see him onto the head
I
wall.
know, but it did look like Spike was having to fight a little bit harder than he wanted to a couple clips before that. So I think it was a great effort from him to keep it together and make it up to that high point area.
I think
I'm
that might be our new high point, unless we've rewarded for going beyond that clip. But yeah,
that'll be one to keep an eye out for the scores on that one.
So you can see the results. There is a little bit of delay in them getting put up, but once they are up, they will be on YCS results. And you can also find the link on the BMC website. We have Connie Rowlands just getting going here on the senior female route. And Brooke getting going on the under 17s. So in the under 17s category, as we only have 16 competitors versus the 26 in the seniors, we are kind of like, we're making our way into the kind of top third now. So the athletes have come out in reverse order from how they qualified. So we'll be interesting to see kind of like the high points. Yeah, we should maybe see the athletes getting a little bit higher. Be great to see. We're kind of both on the female and male side of the under 17s. They are just getting their fingertips onto that head wall, but it'd be great to see them making moves on it, because as the wall becomes less steep, we'll see the style of climbing start to change, like a lot more insecure. We'll throw a lot more balancing moves in there. Kind of it becomes suddenly a lot less about pulling, but about moving your body into the right position. And we have Connie here, like kind of actually getting a little bit of a mini shake on those volumes, which is great because we know how powerful that next section is, and so you're really going to want to milk it.
Yeah, really like leveraging on those twisty drop knees and body positions in those gaps before she comes up to this powerful section. Connie just trying to figure out where to put her feet, and we lose another athlete at this tricky kind of change in style on this senior women's route. You go from tic-tac and kind of fitting in a groove to this really big, powerful move off of this blocks macro. So hopefully at some point we'll see someone figure out and unlock that foot sequence, because I think that is what's holding our athletes back, just not quite finding the right foot positioning. but there's still many more athletes to go, and I'm confident we'll see some of our female athletes up on that head wall later on today. So we are lucky enough to be joined by one of our senior female athletes who has just finished her semi-final campaign.
Hiya.
Hello, with me in the booth we've got Jessica Claxton-Daniels. So Jess, how was it?
It was really good. I really enjoyed the route. I'm like quite a fan of crimps and stuff, so it's like very my style. I very much enjoyed the route. It was very flowy, I found. Like it had a nice like rhythm to it in a way.
Amazing. And how has it been competing here this weekend at this new centre?
It's been great. Like the centre's amazing. I live like kind of nearby, so I've been coming every now and then.
So you're local.
Yeah, but it's like it's amazing to see like what the route setters have done with like the space and everything. Like just looking at it, it looks like so cool.
Yeah, the wall does look fantastic today. I think we are in for an absolute treat.
Yeah.
And it's only the semi-final round.
Yeah,
we still have
exactly.
the finals to come.
Like
So
the finals is going to be, like it's going to be cool.
You're currently holding the high point, right,
Ooh,
on
I
this
think
route?
I've been told, yeah.
Yeah.
So that's like quite cool.
That's super exciting. What was it about that final section that, spat you off in the end?
Yeah, it was, I kind of read it as like getting a heel on the last green volume. But when I got there, I was like, oh, that's not actually the best for a heel.
Yeah, really tricky to read that section from the floor, I think. And
Yeah.
that's often something that's hard as a competitor. You do your best to get as much information from the floor during observation, and then you get on the route and it's like, oh, that's not quite as I expected it to be.
Yeah, like I imagine, like looking back on it now, I think it's like a left foot on the green hold out to the right.
Right.
To like be able to push yourself across, or just being like super strong and just like powering through up to that left hand.
Yeah, you're not the only person to have struggled with this. We've not seen
Yeah.
many people make it through that green volume section, but those who have really struggled to know where to put their feet for that section. It
It's
looks like
been-
you've gone from technical kind of, drop knees and groove climbing into this massive,
Like,
powerful move.
Yeah. It's like, oh, this is really flowy, and then you get there and it's like, oh, this is a complete change in pace.
Yeah, and it's really hard to kind of adjust to that change in pace, right?
Yeah, definitely. It's like you kind of needed a minute, but it's like when you get there, I felt like quite spanned out, like with my feet and stuff. But when I actually got there, it was like, oh, like I thought it was going to be kind of harder. Like I was worried I was going to have like a really low fall, like and mess it up or something. But I was like, I'm very happy with how I did today.
Well, we think you should be happy too. We thought you climbed excellently.
Yeah, see that left foot there.
Okay, Catherine just demonstrating what Jess said, and
Ooh.
definitely getting the closest so far to sticking that move. But it doesn't look like that hold is very good either.
No, someone said, oh, it looks like a jug, and I was like,
No.
I don't know if I believe that.
How was the observation period? Did you read with other people?
Yeah, I read with Hannah Hunt, who was on just before me.
Okay.
And we both read with the heel. I think that's why we both got quite stuck.
Yeah, I remember
But
seeing that.
it was, it was good. We usually compete at like most of the comps together, like the nationals and stuff. So we usually like read routes and things like that together. And
Nice.
it's nice, like being able to like know that someone's there and like has a similar style in the sense.
Yeah.
It was just like, it's nice.
I was going to say it must be nice coming to this event with a team.
Yeah, so it's like I'm not currently on a like coaching squad or anything, but I do sometimes climb with North Squad. And they're like that. Ollie Keelan, honestly, great coach. He's amazing.
Shout out to Ollie Keelan.
Shout out. Yeah, he's great. But yeah, today's been great.
Are you happy?
I'm very happy. I'm
Good.
excited to watch the finals later. Don't imagine I'll get through with the amazing
Well,
climbers coming out.
You never know. But it's been an absolute treat to watch, and we've been saying like everyone here should just be so proud of themselves for just
100%.
being in the semi-final round. It's such an achievement already.
Oh yeah, 100%. It's like, it's one of those things where it's like, this is like BLCCs. This is like one of the
This
biggest
is the pinnacle
comps. Like,
of
yeah,
British,
exactly. This is
competition
like
climbing.
biggest
So
British comp for lead, and like if you like even just competing, it was like the routes yesterday, like they were pretty hard. So it's like everyone should just give themselves a pat on the back,
definitely,
Like,
we love that.
yeah,
we love
100%.
that. Say it louder. So what does the rest of the year look like for you, Jess? More competitions?
I'm thinking like definitely more of like the plywood quiff type things, because like I've not yet done quiff. I've always had one thing or another, like, but yeah, I'm very excited for my first year at quiff. I didn't make the boulder team, so I'm hoping to maybe get some lead comps.
Amazing.
And with how things are looking, I think it might be a hopeful.
Well, I've got my fingers crossed for you.
Thank you.
And we'll be watching out, and all the best for this year, Jess. Thank you for joining
so
us.
See you later.
Bye. And back to the climbing that's happening on the wall. We just lost Oliver Phillipson, but we do have one more athlete coming out on the wall. I think we've currently got cleaning happening, but Seren Wednesday Wills is starting for our under-17 women's route. Thank you very much to Jess for joining us just then. I've got my lovely co-host Zoe back with me in the booth.
She was chatting away. That was great.
She was chatting away. It was great.
Almost out of a job there.
Like a really nice insight into what it's like for these competitors today. And it's nice to hear that Jess had such a good time.
Oh, good. I was about
and
to
that she
ask.
was proud of herself.
Oh,
and she
go
said
on,
that
Jess.
everyone here deserves a pat on the back just for being here. So that is what we want to hear.
Absolutely. It takes a lot to kind of like, put yourself out there. Like even, just climbing in front of like a crowd with the lights. It can be an intense environment.
It's definitely an intimidating space. But all of these athletes have been doing amazingly. And I'm really looking forward to seeing Seren climb on this semi-final route. We've seen her around. She's been doing quite a few competitions.
Yeah, she's from the southwest, I believe. So I guess probably trains routes at the Key in Exeter. Some really good route setting there. And yeah, she's looking nice and cool, calm and collected.
She's looking very cool, calm and collected. Meanwhile, we've just had a route clean happen on our senior men's route from the Anjanu. This happens halfway through our semi-final round. So we've reached the halfway point, and that's just to kind of level the playing field a little bit. Coming out first, you've got brand new holds, they're clean, they're not dirty. Whereas, if you're out 26th, if you're out last, that's quite a lot of traffic that's been on the route. So the route setters do their best to give it a good clean halfway to try and make it fair for everyone.
Yeah, it's kind of like quite you haven't got super long to do it, so it can feel pretty stressful when you're on the side of brushing, especially if the higher the athletes get, the higher you have to brush till. And when there's quite a big, often you can pull between the quick draws, and when there's quite a big gap, you're like, oh,
You've got to actually do some climbing.
And there's loads of people watching you. It can be quite stressful.
No judgment here, don't worry.
We've got Seren making her way up this set. Still looking lovely.
Still looking very casual. Just a
see.
slight bend in her arm now, but she is most of the way through the steep. So she's been going for a while, but starting to slap a little bit. But come on, Seren.
And over on the under-17s males, we have got Louis Corley.
Louis trains in Sheffield. I've seen him climbing at Alston Walls quite a bit.
And as there's fewer athletes in the under-17s category, they I believe they don't require a brush break.
Okay.
I could be wrong, but I'm
don't
pretty
think I've
sure.
seen anyone.
Yeah.
Seren has got that blue cross clip, and she's making moves onto the head wall. Come on, Seren. Nice. I wondered if this heel was...
She's looking cash.
And she's turned it into a rest. That is such intelligent climbing from Seren, and I think we're about to see a really good fight here. That
heel is doing a lot for her. That is really smart climbing. And she's got to keep... Oh, she's just latching onto that little crimp. Come on.
Come on, Seren. Into the delicate feet now. So she's got to really stay focused. Oh, and she was so close to sticking that slap. She just missed that jib on the volume. But that was an awesome effort from Seren.
I hope she's really proud of herself. That was just a really enjoyable watch.
Yeah, she climbed so smoothly and
in Welsh, Seren means star. So there you go. She's our star so far in the under-17s female category.
Well done, Seren. That was an absolute joy to watch and a hard high point to beat, I believe. Meanwhile, we're back onto our senior men's climbing rotation. We've got Tom Healy out, and he's getting into this steep section. Looking pretty casual so far, but there's still a lot more climbing to go in this more physical section. And Louis is just quietly cracking on the under-17s male route. He's now up into the head wall and
he's
our high
basically
point.
kind of saying to the others that beat it, like, what was wrong? He's cruising up there. he's able to make good decisions, decide about the clip, get his foot around that rope, and just kind of like, he's looking chill.
Sometimes when athletes look pumped, you know, you can see it in their eyes that they're not really thinking. It's more fight or flight. But Louis looks like he's got loads in the head tank. Come on, Louis. He's last draw. Awesome effort from Louis as well. Just really smooth, controlled climbing. And I think Louis is predominantly a lead climber.
That's why he's looking so chill.
Yeah, he definitely demonstrated like really good pacing, really good decision making and flow. And that's something that, you know, lead climbers do have over the boulder athletes.
And I always like kind of watching their faces when you get people that have got the high point come down, because obviously they don't know that they've just reached a new high point. And unless there's like maybe a big crowd to give you that kind of like inclination, it's great to get them down, look at maybe their friends or their family or their coach and be like, have that little like realization, you know, and they can,
you know, like a little thumbs up or something.
Yeah, exactly. And just be a bit relieved and proud. And they're like, oh, great, you know. Because all the spectators are like, oh, amazing, you just did this much better, but they just have no idea.
No, you really have no clue until you get down and someone tells you, or you look at the results board.
So if you can have a look on the screen in the bottom left-hand side above the kind of like the section with the yellow volumes on just in the entrance of the steep, you can see a little bit of tape there. That is some blue tape. That could also be black, but that tells you that the climber can't move past that. So no part of their body can go beyond that little bit of tape. We've been told that that's caused a little bit of issues amongst some of the athletes that were out earlier. When you're in the zone, it can be so hard to kind of look around you and notice those bits. But unfortunately, there is, you know, if you've gone past it, you've gone past it, and there is very little lenience with that, and it is there for a reason. We've got Javier just getting going on the under-17s. Another Catalyst climber from the London climbing walls. Put in a great performance at the Boulder Champs a couple of weeks ago. It's pretty intense for the athletes to kind of go from like being in bouldering mode and then needing to recover and then quickly turning around to lead.
Yeah, it's been a very intense few weeks for these athletes. This is the British Lead Climbing Championships, but it is also being used as selection for the British climbing team and to international competitions. So there is a lot riding on this weekend, not just the title, but
yeah, I guess it must be really hard to kind of like comprehend that and not let it affect your performance, especially when you know that how you perform today could have a pretty big kind of role to play in what happens to your season and in the summer moving forward.
Nice, Javier, come on.
We've got 4 athletes on the wall again. We are back to full business mode here at the semi-final. We've got Florence Nuttall for the under-17 female category, Holly Key for the senior women, Javier Seacom for the under-17 men, and Tom Steele for the senior men.
Super strong flow. Real nice.
Flo sticking that jump, super easy. All of these young athletes are just so comfortable and confident with these dynamic moves now.
Yeah, you can really tell kind of like
that they've grown up on it.
Yeah, and actually sometimes now, like when we set, we might throw in some more, you know, inverted commas, conventional climbing moves.
Yeah.
And they struggle a bit more.
Yeah.
It's more kind of like plain crimp pulling or maybe moving around arêtes and stuff. The climbers find hard because they've just been practicing jumping around on macros and stuff, and it's really interesting as a route setter to see how those styles change, and they always will change because you need to keep the athletes on their toes and like really push the sport and really kind of like you want to reward the climber that basically is best at the most skills.
The most all-rounded climber. Holly Key is moving through these green volumes super well. She's getting all those clips in really good positions. So I hope that she's going to be able to unlock this next crux section.
Come on, Tom, stick with it.
Tom is starting to fight here on the senior men's route. Let's see if he can make his way across this awkward traverse section, but he's still got this difficult clip to go before he can get into that.
And meanwhile, on the under-17s female, it looks like we might see some more head wall action, which is exciting from Florence. She's looking really kind of like put together, making good decisions, smearing on the wall. The wall here is actually really textured, so it's really smart climbing here to make the most of that.
Flo definitely like resorting to her power. I think she's a powerful climber, and she's just maybe not quite finding the feet straight away, but just so strong that she can pull her way up this.
And she's looking at that clip. She knows that she's got,
good decision making from Flo there.
Yeah. She was just like powering up that head wall, knowing that like actually maybe she realised, okay, I've got to this point of pump and I've got to just keep moving.
Javier is kind of throwing all sorts of shapes here on the men's under-17 semi-final route. That's the like latest clip we've seen on that section.
Yeah, and it just goes to show that you can clip higher than what we thought. But maybe that came back to bite him slightly. That didn't look like a particularly nice position to clip from, and also just distracts you from the flow of it.
It's always a bit of a shame when you fall off after having clipped, because you've not really moved anywhere.
Yeah, exactly. But you've put in so much effort
to get that clip in.
Yeah.
But that looks like obviously a really tricky section because it's powerful, but there seems to be a lot of different sequences on offer for that section. So really hard for the athletes to know what to do. And when you're pumped and coming to the end of your fight, you just want it to be straightforward, don't you?
Yeah, and straightforward is not what these routes are.
Definitely not.
Like the sequences will all be designed to kind of like push them in some way or throw them off. And basically, in a lot of instances, like if you don't do it the way that it was set, if you don't read it, if you don't hold the right bit, if you don't quite see what's happened, then you will like potentially fall off, or you'll waste so much energy that it will affect you higher up the route.
For sure, these routes are not straightforward. You've maybe sat at home thinking I could climb that, but you probably can't.
No, I don't think.
But don't underestimate the difficulty of these routes. We've all been there,
and
sat at home thinking, yeah, that doesn't look too hard. But I promise you, these routes are really hard. These athletes have put in so much work over the winter, and they're all looking amazing.
I always think that kind of. I'm from the privileged position of like when I'm setting these routes, you get to climb them quite a lot, and you really get to understand how hard those moves are. And then when you get to sit back and watch the athletes crush, it just gives you like a total kind of like another sense of appreciation for just how good they are. Like I remember, so for those of you that don't know, Molly actually won the lead champs in 2024. So I had the privilege of setting for her. And it was just great because I'd been up there, I'd known how hard the route was, and just to get to watch Molly cruise on what was we didn't manage to set a single route that was hard enough to spit you off. So yeah, it's kind of like you just get such a good appreciation for the athletes and how like physically good at climbing they are.
It was an amazing set of routes, and I had a great time at British League Champs last year. I'm absolutely gutted to not be there.
How do you feel?
Be here climbing. Yeah, it's bittersweet. It's obviously amazing to be here and like experience the atmosphere and watch all of these climbers. Like it is just a joy to watch, but of course I wish I was climbing.
Yeah, when your heart's in what they're doing, it must be kind of like a slight kind of prang of sadness to not be there, but you'll have plenty to come in this season. I'm excited to see you out there on the international circuit.
I'll do my best for another comeback.
That's Molly for you. She's queen of the comebacks.
Just one after the other.
She likes to keep us on our toes. But meanwhile, on the wall, we have got Bella from. She's a precision athlete.
She is a precision
She competed in the Boulder Championships. And
another finalist and.
Yeah.
Getting more comfortable on a rope. Started off as a boulder athlete, but is now kind of transitioning into doing both, and she's doing a really good job.
And meanwhile, we've got Ember, who could be reaching our new high point. Oh, she just gets spat off by that same move. It is kind of. It looks like as soon as you get there, it's draining.
Yeah, Jess was saying it was quite hard to figure out the right position from the floor, and just crazy fall from Finley there.
Yeah,
just looked a little bit too casual, maybe.
Yeah,
that is the risk when you think you're locked in with all these heels and toes, and these big macros. They're big, but they're slippy.
Yeah, especially those yellow ones up there. There's some Squadra macros, and although they're big, the texture on them actually is pretty it's quite fine, and so they're pretty slippy, especially once they've got some chalk and some boot rubber on there. In the kind of like under 17s category, we are entering into our like last 3 climbers. So hopefully we'll start to see like kind of the best come out now. See if that makes a difference to how high they get.
See if Bella can spot this high heel hook. No, she's
opted for the knee, but that looks like a
that
good
was
move. She's
really
climbing
interesting.
Yeah, she's like using some intelligent climbing there, but
just didn't quite have the right body positioning for that match there.
And meanwhile, in the under 17s male, we have got Tom.
I'm pretty sure he was on the podium at our Boulder Champs a couple of weeks ago.
He was indeed.
So he'll be looking to kind of match that here. It's super impressive to see these youth athletes be so dominant in both disciplines.
Yeah, I mean, it's hard enough being good at one.
Right.
Especially for lots of our athletes, if they don't live, we don't have that many good lead walls in the UK, really. And then so if they don't live near one, it's particularly challenging to train lead. I mean, you must know this, like, you're predominantly a lead athlete, and the challenges of trying to, like, train that is pretty hard, right?
Definitely. I feel like a lot of my, especially earlier days in my lead climbing career, competitive one, was just making do with what we had and going round and round on the spray wall, doing circuits. But you don't get to practice that flow required to climb these routes. But Tom seems to be flowing despite this, and opted to clip really high up, but sunk low enough on his foot that he could clip off of a straight arm. And let's see if he can continue up this head wall and match Louis' high point that we saw earlier.
Yeah, you can tell that it's starting to kind of like become a bit more strenuous for him, but he's still looking like he's making good decisions, kind of like really knowing that he's got a fight here. Dropping his feet, maybe slightly in trouble. Doesn't look quite as comfortable as he has been.
No, looks like he's struggling a little bit and struggling with that rope being on his foothold.
Yeah, that is not ideal. Looks like he's just kind of like made his way to a little pocket here, but he also knows he's got to decide where it's clipped from. There we go. He's got himself in a much better position here.
Oh, great fighting here from Tom.
That is some good tension. Oh, and just off.
Just had nothing left to give, I don't think, but
that is our new high point from Tom. And we only have one athlete remaining for the male under 17s. So will Isaac be able to get higher than Tom? But that is a great point to see our second to last athlete come out on in terms of the route. I feel like it's pretty well set. Like we want to see the athletes like the last few athletes getting either to the top or really close. And meanwhile on the senior,
Finn is looking so strong through this section.
Yeah,
definitely looks like we've leveled up.
And it's suddenly making this route look pretty different to the rest of the athletes. And you can hear the people beneath egging him on. They're excited to see him this high, and so are we.
And that was some great climbing. I feel like he really entered a flow state in that last section of his climbing, just one move at a time. And again, it was another really powerful move on thin holds with not many feet.
He'll be happy with that, I'm sure.
And with not many climbers to go, he won't have to wait that long to figure out whether he's made it through to this evening's final or not.
Yeah. I feel like he probably will be, but we do still have probably about kind of like just under 10 athletes coming out for the males, and there is a very high caliber coming. Meanwhile, we've got Izzy here. She is
person to stick this crux move.
Come on. She's quite a powerful climber, so I feel like that move would have suited her.
Very powerful, but looks like she's only just managed to get that
so
clip
out
in.
of her shoulder there. But that was, come on.
Let's see if she can get anything back.
That hold looks draining. You don't want to hang around there. Come on, get it. But she was fighting there, and she was fighting for a long time. That was a great effort. That's one of the coolest bits about lead climbing, I think, is you enter into just pretty different fights of bouldering. And it can go on for what feels like such a long time.
Definitely. Yeah, that was an amazing fight from Izzy. I hope she's happy with that. The first person through that crux section on our senior women's semi-final route, but just didn't quite have enough to do that powerful slopey move. Mia is looking super chill on the under 17 semi-final route. She's our penultimate climber out in this category. and doesn't need the heel for this move over the head roll, just straight power. Another athlete who I believe was in our bouldering final 2 weeks ago. So clearly very strong, very technically capable, and it does translate into lead.
Yeah, for sure. Especially as kind of like the style of lead in the last kind of like 10 years has, or even less than that, has become slightly more close matched bouldering with the volumes and the holds. And she's just kind of like popped off there, but I reckon that will put her in a good position to go forward into the final.
Yeah, and like as important as this round is, you know, you just want to make it through to the next. You want to be able to climb in the final because that's where it matters, really. That's where it counts.
Exactly. Yeah. As long as you've kind of climbed enough to get through, and then you can really like push once you get there.
Yeah, leave it all out there.
And we have our final climber in the under-17s male, Isaac. And let's see if he can match our high point, which we just saw by Tom. And in the senior males, we've got Fred here, looking nice and casual. See if he can kind of like make easy work of this feet first section that's coming up. But he's looking cool, and he's looking kind of like ready to give it a good fight.
Yeah, he's got that clip in before this tricky move to the blocked crimp, and it looks like he's going to not put his feet first, which was how I read this section of the route.
I think regardless of which way you go, you've got to kind of like get them high, but this definitely is looking like some really smart climbing here.
Really chill from Fred.
And that is what's rewarded. It's like making good decisions under pressure. And look at this, he's just making this clip off double toes like it's nothing.
Yeah, really efficient climbing.
Certainly tell you that isn't nothing. Yeah, and found a rest. That is, and looks like it just really fits into that position quite well.
Definitely, and Isaac on the left-hand side of the wall has just done that crux move to the undercut and clipped off of it. So he's got plenty in the tank by the looks of things.
Yeah. And over on the senior women's, we've got Jen Wood.
Definitely our most experienced athlete in this semi-final route. Oh, yeah. And Fred is our new high point on the senior men's.
Come on, Fred.
Semi. Come on, Fred.
Chosen's gone past that clip. I think he's going to need to get it in. He's seen it. He's going back.
Looks like a really awkward clip.
That is a small crimp. He is looking suddenly gone pumped, and that's the way that they hit you, these routes.
Let's hope he can get something back before he enters
he's back to chill.
Final section. Go on, Fred.
Come on, Fred.
A deep block.
Fred and Isaac both got high points, and Fred's just popped off there, but he should be incredibly happy with that.
Or Isaac is fighting as well. Elbows are up, but he's approaching the penultimate hold on this route. Come on, Isaac.
It's great now because he's done enough to get through to the semi-final. He's got the high point, but he should keep. He kind of just. I guess he heard me.
Yeah.
He's like, I've done enough.
Oh, and Jen Wood showing her power and strength. Just absolutely boshing that move out.
Yeah.
Come on, Jen.
Jen has been climbing outside for the last kind of basically year.
It looks like she's
absolutely crushing it, but will that translate?
She's looking at the clip, she's looking at the next hold, and she's opting to just go for points.
Come on, Jen. Come on, Jen. Oh, great effort.
Yeah, I was saying Jen, probably our most experienced athlete here today.
It's relatively such a young field.
I know. I feel old sat here, even though we not old in the slightest at 27, but you know, the talent, the young talent's just so strong at the moment, and they are dominating the senior fields.
It's tough to compete with kind of like and it's I always find it amazing, like lots of the people that are climbing the best still go to school. I'm like, how do you even have the time to go to school and train and just deal with being like a young adult? It's so tough at that age, and to still be like absolutely crushing, I just find admirable.
Definitely. We've got Iggy.
And the White Spider athlete.
Winner of the British Boulder Champs a couple of weeks ago.
Yeah, and not kind of like she'll be used to climbing up here
as well. Or I think she's had some success at European Youth Cups and Championships last year.
She's definitely one to watch on the up and coming list. She's got a bright climbing future ahead of her.
Definitely, and she is approaching our high point. making this clip look pretty casual.
Yeah, eking out of that drop knee there, just to like make it as efficient as possible. And she's one of those climbers that can kind of like, she's really good at reading like how to do things and how to also do things for her body type as well. And she'll just there, we saw her maybe try and go static, and then instead of forcing the static, just to understand that she's got to come down and stab with a bit more kind of power.
Yeah, she looks so relaxed and calm right now. She's just got that capacity to try things, maybe come back down, rethink, and try again.
And this section here won't be very obvious how to climb. You've got to have kind of like quite an intuitive style. Oh, she just pops off, but there we go. Iggy
Just
was our last
balance.
climber in the under 17s female category, and she got our high point. I'm sure she'll be very proud of herself there.
Definitely a great job from the route setters on our under 17 routes. They were amazing. I feel like they did a really good job of, letting some athletes shine and challenging athletes the whole way through the route.
Definitely, no, they should be really happy with themselves, and I can't wait to see what they've got in store for the finals.
Yeah, hopefully that's given them a lot of information so that they can, make the right tweaks and really perfect that final route later on.
Meanwhile, on the wall, we have got Izzy Bridgens and Daniel Smith.
Just
Both
our senior athletes left now to compete.
Yeah, absolutely. We had a 26 through in the senior category versus 16, so we've got another 10 basically to go in the seniors. Both these climbers on the wall, we've seen at a lot of the competition, national competitions in the last few years, so they will be used to climbing in this kind of like style and with the audience. Daniel having to fight a little bit more on those crimps, kind of getting quite high up in his shoulders, but this is powerful,
Really using all of those volumes as much as possible, getting a little toe hook in under that blue volume, just to keep the tension so that he can clip, and that's just really smart climbing from Daniel.
And some more smart climbing over here.
Wow,
Izzy,
definitely the best I've seen anyone do that move.
Everyone else has had to power through it and looks like it's really draining, whereas that massive drop knee paired with this lovely heel hook now for the clip is making it look like almost like a completely different move.
Definitely, and now she's actually made a rest out of this crux position.
Yeah, some super smart climbing, and it means that she can actually have a little moment to decide how she wants to do that next bit, which is really important, like, because if you enter the move without having decided, you can suddenly get thrown off by the pressure of needing to make a decision.
Yeah, Izzy, a very flexible climber, just showing us how flexible she was there and really using that to her advantage. And now our new high point.
And staying really close into the wall. We've got Daniel also made it through the super powerful squadron macro section there and tic-tacking up the volumes. There's a great bit of buzz of excitement amongst the crowd here in Manchester.
Now this looks like a tricky clip for Izzy here. Come on, Izzy.
She knows that.
So she just goes
bit of a leg caught around the rope, but she is okay. And Daniel falls off as well. But great performance from both of them there. It's always a lovely kind of like atmosphere when you get two athletes break through to either the high point or near the high point at the same time. You really get the feels of the crowd there behind them.
And we've now had most of our athletes finish climbing now, so they are all here watching and cheering for the competitors that are still coming out, and that is also another lovely thing about climbing.
Yeah, exactly, and especially because they have that appreciation for like just how hard they've got, and even though that they are like competing against each other, I'm sure you know this, but like they're also friends and they train together, and you still I'm sure over the moon when your training partner like gets through a section that you know how tough it is.
Yeah, for sure. And a lot of these athletes will be here with teams. We spoke to Jess earlier, who said she was climbing, she trained with North coaching climbing a little bit, but a lot of these athletes here are here as part of a team, and that is also like a really nice way to come into an event like this.
Yeah, for sure. Like to be able to kind of like support your teammates and have a coach here as well, kind of like looking out for like giving you support, but also if there is any technicals and they need to make an appeal, having a coach here to do that on your behalf is also super important.
We've got 2 new athletes now, Sam Butterworth for the men and Anya for the